Moment of silence for Minshew Mania.
Minshew Mania.
And it's done. Okay, Gardner Minshew will not be the starting quarterback when the Jacksonville Jaguars come off their bye after their loss in London to the Texans 26-3. He is Nick Foles, who got injured week 1 with that broken collarbone, has come off injured reserve and is ready to roll. So when they go next week, it'll be Doug Marrone announcing it will be Nick Foles under center for the Jacksonville Jaguars. You gave Nick Foles that big contract in the offseason for a reason. I think he's due $22.5 million next year. As an organization, you know how people say sometimes it's a football decision? To me, this is an organizational decision. I think the Jacksonville Jaguars, GM David Caldwell and Doug Marrone, everybody, Tom Coughlin, they need to find out down the stretch of this season whether or not Nick Foles is going to be the guy they thought he was going to be when they paid him the money.
Well, I think something else we need to – if Gardner Minshew was 7-1 in his 8 starts, we might be talking something different.
Correct.
Right?
He had his first multi-interception game.
He was 4-4 as a starter.
Pretty good, but still. Yeah.
Listen, he did a pretty good job completing over 61% of his passes. Not a lot of interceptions. It's 4 to 13 touchdowns. Did lose, I think, 7 of 11 fumbles. I think he did a good job for a guy that there was no expectations of, a 6th-round draft pick, and to come in and that being put on his shoulders, you asked to keep your head above water. He was 4-4 as a starter. I think he did a pretty good job.
Yes.
Like I said, if he were 7-1, we may be having a different conversation right now.
Exactly, Junior, and all of this is Straight Talk, brought to you by Straight Talk Wireless.
Yeah, if you're trying to come in and upset the apple cart as a guy who is coming from the bottom of this equation, meaning you're a lower round draft pick, you're an undrafted free agent. Like when Russell Wilson went into camp, now it was a 3rd rounder, it was a bit different. But when he went into camp in Seattle and took that job his rookie year, it was by all accounts definitive. It was we can't in good conscience keep this guy off the field. Gardner went out there and did well.
Yeah.
He didn't do great. He didn't do awful. He did well. And well is unfortunately not enough to go in and usurp the guy who they paid a bunch of money to this offseason.
Who they have an offensive coordinator there with who has a history with him in Philadelphia.
But you know what he did well enough for, Gardner? To be involved in quarterback conversation.
Totally agree.
Right? I mean, he's not a guy that like, he got his chance. Man, did he mess that up and put him to the side. He's a guy that was like, okay, you know what? We see something here. But again, not enough to say, all right, we're keeping you right now over Nick Foles, and I completely understand that. But I do think he showed well for himself.
It's interesting what happens going forward because
that is correct.
You play this out and say, all right, what if Nick Foles goes out there and bottoms out?
Yeah.
Like Nick Foles goes out there and he turns back into the pumpkin that we saw in St. Louis.
Outside of Philadelphia.
Yeah. Outside of Philadelphia,
exactly.
Nick Foles comes to the party in Jacksonville, and all of a sudden you're looking at this going forward and saying, well, hell, we can put this Minshew guy in here, be all right on the cheap, and now we've just lowered the trade value for a guy we paid a bunch of money to.
Yeah.
Like, that's the interesting part of this is once Nick Foles goes back on the field, we know.
Yeah.
For better or for worse, we know, depending on how this goes for him.
I agree. I think the Jacksonville Jaguars have a lot of flexibility and options at a position where so many teams have none, right?
Yeah.
I mean, Nick Foles is going to make $22 million next year. That's not a ton for a good starting quarterback in the NFL. So you have a tradable asset if you believe Minshew's going to be the thing, and you can this can still work together for a while because Minshew's on a six-round rookie contract. That's nothing.
That's nothing.
You put
Absolutely
those.
right.
I mean, look at the money that's being paid to Mitchell Trubisky and Chase Daniel in Chicago, and compare that with the money that those two quarterbacks make together combined against the Jacksonville Jaguars cap. The Jags are actually in a fascinatingly interesting position with flexibility and all kinds of options at the most crucial position in team sports.
Hi everyone, thank you for watching ESPN on YouTube. For more sports, more analysis, download the ESPN app. And for live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN Plus. We'll see you there.